This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
After the debacle that was the midterms just a few days ago, we are witnessing now a slow trickle of conservatives who are brave enough to come out against Donald Trump. They're doing it for all the wrong reasons, though. In typical conservative fashion, just like when a Republican you know is totally against gay rights or gay marriage in this country until they find out their son or daughter is gay. Just like any person you know who is conservative, who is against trans rights and doesn't believe them to be human rights, until they know someone who is against Medicare for all or some other absolutely logical progressive policy prescription. They're against it until they know someone or they themselves have been impacted by crushing medical debt. Just like all of that, in typical conservative fashion, we're seeing Republicans turn on Trump because of something he did to them personally. This first clip I'm going to play is from this weekend, or I noticed it this weekend. Got to watch her show, so I don't know when these things happen. Candace Owens is now super brave and going to risk the slings and arrows against her as she comes out against Trump, because not of his cruelty and fascism and bigotry and racism and xenophobia and autocratic nature, none of that. It's because he was mean to her. He was, as she puts it, quite rude. He was quite rude to me, she says. He was actually rude to me. That's what did it for Candace Owens. And then, very briefly, we're going to talk about Mo Brooks. Remember the taking names and kicking ass? That guy from the insurrection, he now is also anti-Trump because he's dishonest, disloyal, incompetent, crude, and a lot of other things that he's just now figuring out. Anyway, let's start with Candace Owens. Here's the dum-dum crying crocodile tears over Donald Trump being quite rude to her.
Trump actually got upset with me because, and here's the great irony, the richest irony, the Daily Beast ran a headline regarding that live Instagram that you just heard from me. And the headline was, Candace Owens says Trump is pro-vax because he's too old to understand the internet. I never once called Trump too old. I never once said that Trump could not understand the internet. And yet somehow he got that information and believed it to be true. He thought that I said that he was too old and that he couldn't understand the internet and did not quite get the information that actually what I was saying was a defense of him so that his supporters would still believe in him. Not only was he just mad, by the way, he then, during a golf session with some mutual friends of ours, had a person next to him who was egging this on, saying to Trump, and I know this because, again, this is a mutual friend, aren't you mad at Candace? Aren't you mad at Candace? Aren't you mad at Candace? And eventually he was like, yeah, I'm so mad at Candace. I'm so mad at Candace. And this got back to me that he was upset with me, that he was angry at me. And the next time that I saw him, he was quite rude to me. He was actually rude to me. I'm telling you this personal story because I think it is something that made me, for the first time, question him as a person. So you have an individual that spent years defending you, right? And that individual gave you a completely kind and fair interview. You said something yourself that your base didn't like, and you somehow transformed that into something that I did wrong. That's unacceptable. That is not being a leader. That is not owning things that you did wrong. That is not owning that you misunderstood something about your base. That's not growing. That's not developing. In fact, he should have tried to understand why the base was so upset with him, which would have led into the fact that his base is not pro-COVID vaccine. It's that simple. I understood that. I could have told him that. But at that moment, I realized that he's not listening. Who is this guy next to him trying to egg him on to be angry at me for trying to defend him, say that he's not a shill, to say, no, actually, I think that he genuinely does support the vaccines. He did genuinely support the vaccines. So all of this going on made me, again, question him if he was becoming too angry, which is to say that when Trump went into the election in 2016, he was having fun, right? He was naming people, giving them fun names, enjoying the base, having a good time. I would even say in 2020, you could feel the energy. It was electric. I think after the 2020 election, and because of the shock of all the things that happened and the answers that we never really feel that we got, this like sinking realization that we might be actually losing our country, I think that it pushed him into an angry space where he doesn't trust anybody, where he doesn't listen to anybody, where he's almost likely to believe that everybody's trying to turn their back on him and stab him in the back. And again, I don't believe that that's leadership, but I never spoke on that because I thought to myself, I think that that's a lot of ego that Trump is having right now, but maybe I'm being egotistical. Maybe me even speaking out about this is me being offended and butthurt that he was so rude to me. He was so rude to me on the basis of what he said. But after time, I've realized that no, these discussions that everybody is having, these conservative influencers are having behind Trump's back, should be also had with the public as well.
So let's break that down. He was quite rude to me. He was actually rude to me, she says. Shocked that Donald Trump, the Donald Trump we've all known for decades and decades, but the Donald Trump politician that we've known for 5-6 years, she's shocked that he would be disloyal, that he would be rude. It is something that made me, for the first time, she says, question him as a person. This personal interaction is the first time she questioned him as a person, which calls into question her ability and her judgment overall. Unacceptable, she says. Not a leader, not owning things that you did wrong, not growing, not developing. Too angry, Donald Trump is, because he was quite rude to her. Not because of all of the other myriad instances of unacceptable behavior for a president of the United States. No. But because he hurt her no feelings. Naming people on the campaign, giving people fun names. It was just fun, good fun, until she was under the gaze of Donald Trump, until he was directing that ire at her. It was unacceptable until then. And then she, the chef's kiss realization for Candace Owens that we're witnessing in real time here. I think that it's a lot of ego that Trump is having right now. I hate to be the one to break it to you, Candy. It is not right now that Donald Trump has a lot of ego. It has been since he came into himself as a human being. Since he was making $200,000 a month or whatever it was that Fred Trump was paying him to avoid taxes. She's not the only one, though. Mo Brooks. Remember this from Mo Brooks on the day of the insurrection, speaking at the Stop the Steal rally. Remember this very brief sentence that he said.
Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass.
Taking down names and kicking ass, Mo Brooks. And then subsequently, when he abandoned the claim that Donald Trump, or he didn't even abandon the claim of voter fraud. He just said, we need to drop it and move on. We need to let go of 2020 and move on into the future. And that pissed Donald Trump off to the point where he turned on Mo Brooks, withdrew his endorsement of him for Alabama Senate. Well, an article at AL.com, this headline, Mo Brooks says Trump dishonest, disloyal, incompetent, and rude. Again, rude. Oh, Donald Trump has been so rude to me. These idiots. Reading from the article, it would be a bad mistake for Republicans to have Donald Trump as their nominee in 2024, Brooks said in an interview to AL.com. Donald Trump, this is a quote, Donald Trump has proven himself to be dishonest, disloyal, incompetent, rude, and a lot of other things that alienate so many independents and Republicans. Even a candidate who campaigns from his basement can beat him. Look, this is once again, like many conservatives, they don't care about loyalty. They don't care about division or divisiveness of Donald Trump. None of that matters to them. The cruelty is the point. What matters to them is if they get treated incorrectly or if they start to lose power. Because having a cruel master was okay for them. They were there to bear the whip, to lick at the boots of Donald Trump until it wasn't advantageous for them. Whether it be Candace Owens or Mo Brooks or a litany of other clowns in the Republican clown car. It's all a bit much. It's gross. So I want to warn you against, in the coming weeks and months, a rewriting of history from the Republican Party and individual elected Republicans who are going to all of a sudden start turning on, in greater numbers, start turning on Donald Trump and painting a picture as though they always really questioned his intent. Oh no, this is always the way. Oh, we all know. No. Do not buy it. They are liars who made Trump possible. They enabled Donald Trump. They justified Donald Trump. They made excuses for Donald Trump. Remember the phrase a few years ago, well, what he meant to say was, oh, shithole countries? What he meant to say was, don't allow them to do it. Keep it in your head, who they are. We know who they are. We've known who they are. And we must remember who they are. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Absolutely. You can email me daily@dollemore.com. You can do all of that and mix it up in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion about this. Follow me on social media. You can follow me on Twitter for as long as that exists. Who knows? Not long in my estimation. @Dollemore on there, on Instagram, and on TikTok for as long as I'm not banned, @Dollemore. If you appreciate what I do, you want to take part in this, in the mission, the overall goal and objective of this program to protect American democracy, please consider supporting my work. Click the join button below. Become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month, or go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.